Welcome to the Masters of Real Estate. Today, we're going to learn from a real master of real estate, Sam Sawyer. Sam, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you today.
So, Sam, for someone who's not met you before or hasn't had the privilege of, knowing about you, how do you introduce yourself to them?
So my name's Sam Sawyer. I'm the founder and CEO of this Pinnacle Realty Advisors. We just got these new hats, so I put one on before this. But I'm based in Austin, Texas. I've been in the real estate industry since I was 19 years old. And I know I still look like I'm 19, but I'm 37. So almost half my life have been an agent, have worked at some prop tech companies in Silicon Valley, and now run a kind of innovative brokerage platform that it's a subscription-based model, cloud. We don't have any offices. We operate in 6 states. And we just started about a little over 3 years ago, and we're just about to break 1,000 agents total. So we've been growing really quickly. That's me. I'll stop there.
That's so impressive, Sam. So you've basically been in real estate years before you could even rent a car.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. And I still don't know why to this day I got my real estate license. I played lacrosse in college, and I would just stay during the summer. And one summer I got my license, and then I started helping like friends on campus and friends on the lacrosse team I started out just doing rentals. And then I sold my first house I guess towards the end of junior year. And then I actually ended up quitting the lacrosse team before senior year and just kind of started full time as I was graduating, and then still doing it today.
Wow. Before we get into how you move from lacrosse to real estate, sum up the last 18 years of your impact in the residential real estate industry. What volume of home transactions do you say, if you had to put a dollar number, what volume would you say you have influenced directly or indirectly through your team?
Yeah, I mean, directly and indirectly, definitely over 5 billion, maybe north of that. Just, with my own transactions, I was a full-time agent for a long time and would do anywhere, from 50 to 100 million in sales. And then with all the agents we have now in the company, and I've seen a lot of real estate transactions and have been involved in a lot, but I still help friends every now and then buy houses. Like I just closed a house a few weeks ago, but I don't do that too much anymore. It's more just for fun if I have time now, but focused on running our company now.
So you're basically the Rancer Hunt of Texas.
That's good. I like that. I mean, I've been called a lot of things over my time. That's a new one, but I think in a roundabout way, I think that makes sense. We're building some cool things down here with my company. A lot of people outside of the states that we operate in don't really know about Pinnacle yet, but I think over the next few years, we plan to expand across the nation. So hopefully more people will know who we are soon.
So Sam, it's very obvious that you're only through like a fourth or fifth of your professional life. You've already crossed 5 billion of transaction volume. You're overseeing and helping 1,000 other people make money around you, and future obviously, bright and shining. But let's rewind the clock back to the past. Let's rewind it to when it was zero. And how did you end up doing your first transaction?
I remember the first house I ever sold. I think going back before I even started in real estate, I've always been interested in making money, I guess, or being an entrepreneur. Like in second grade, I used to remember paper footballs. Did y'all ever play like the little paper football game? My friend Randall and I used to have a paper football business. He would draw the NFL team logos on them, and I can't draw, but I was good at selling them. And then I've had some funny businesses over the years, like buying and selling Beanie Babies on eBay. Had a car wash business at one point in high school. I've always been interested in just being independent and making money, and real estate was, I never thought I would be a real estate agent, but it was probably the most perfect thing ever. But the first house I ever sold, I literally had no idea what I was doing. And luckily my friend's dad was in real estate and was super nice. And his name's Chase McKegg. I'll send him this. He's been mentioned on lots of podcasts over the years, but we laugh all the time because I had no idea what I was doing. But the transaction worked out, and then I don't think I'd ever seen a check that big because it was like a $500,000 sale. And when you're 20 years old, $15,000 will last you 5 years.
Wow. So you tried selling things on eBay and others, and you realized that you had a certain flair for helping people buy what they needed. But now when you saw the effort that went into making a $15,000 check, you were like, this is it. Like, how do I?
Like I loved it. Like I've always loved just like talking to people and being around people. And being in college and being a real estate agent kind of worked because I still went to class and like had my schedule, but you could still be an agent and, work when you didn't have school. I probably didn't go to every class. Like everyone that knows me really well would probably laugh if I try to convince y'all I went to every class. But it was just like flexible. And then when I graduated, I went to SMU in Dallas. And when I graduated, it was like the depths of the financial crisis, like 2009, 2010. And I was still trying to get a job. Like I still didn't want to be a real estate agent. Like I remember I applied for a job at Facebook, which was still like a startup at the time, and was like trying to not be in real estate. But then no one was hiring. I think 5 of my friends had jobs. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll just do this for now. And then I started selling a lot more, and then you'll have to look it up. But sometime along the way, I was named one of the top 30 agents in America under 30 when I was like, I don't know, I said like 26 or 27. And then I started selling like big houses around Dallas, like multi-million dollar type houses, and helped start a brokerage firm that we sold to Compass. But I'll stop talking and go on to some other, whatever questions you want to go through.
Oh, this is incredible. Let's dig deeper. So you graduated in 2009.
Yeah. Graduated 2009.
Less than 5 years from then, you were rated as the best 30 real estate agents in America. And seems like you also had a fancy title at a local real estate company in SVP. So what did you do right in those 5 years? And what did you learn from your mistakes?
Yeah, so when I graduated, I started working at the Sotheby's firm. Well, actually, when I joined, it wasn't even Sotheby's yet. It was just Briggs Freeman, which is a firm that's been around Dallas for probably like 100 years at this point. Robbie Briggs, his dad started it, and then Robbie and I are still friends to this day. He joined. Briggs Freeman became part of Sotheby's like right when I started. So it was Briggs Freeman, Sotheby's, International Realty. You know how they brand those across America. But so started there when I was full-time. When I was in college, I don't really count that as full-time, but Briggs Freeman, and then stayed there for about 5 years. And then myself and 2 other agents from there left and started a luxury boutique brokerage firm called The Collective that was around all of about 11 months. And then Compass bought that company in 2018, 2019. And we launched Compass in Texas. So we were the first Compass agents in Texas. And then I went to San Francisco.
Wow. I want to learn more about, how you left a really cushy job and started a real estate brokerage with your friends, how you sold it to Compass, and why you moved to San Francisco. But let's go back. In those 5 years, went from not knowing what you're doing in your first home to being one of the top, recognized as top 30 agents. What did you do that went so well? Like, what were the top 3 things? Like, what were your top superpowers? And how did you learn from your mistakes and bounce from them very quickly?
Yeah, I would say I knew more about like every home sale than probably anyone in Dallas. I mean, I I was young. I had more free time than someone that has a family and all these things. So like for better or for worse, I worked probably 7 days a week and missed out on lots of social events. Like I don't advise my way I did this to other people, but I just learned everything I could about the market. I would always ask really busy agents, like if I could help them. At that time, everyone still went into real estate offices. That's changed a lot, but I would literally just sit like in the common area computer room and ask people if they need help. But then once I started selling stuff, I was always someone that just went out of my way to like follow up with people. And it sounds really simple, but I didn't do a lot of social media or like random ads in the newspaper. I would literally just call and text past clients probably once a month. I mean, probably to the point of annoying them, but that was how I went from, 0 to almost 100 million in sales in like 5 years.
Wow. So for anybody listening, if they follow your two superpowers, which is one is know more than everybody else, two is build and maintain really thoughtful relationships with all of your clients, and what would stop them from replicating what you did?
With being a real estate agent, I think those are the number one things. Know about the market and answer your phone.
Wow.
And you'll be one of the top agents. It blows my mind when agents don't call people back. You hear these stories about, and it gives real estate agents a really bad name. And I know there's agents at our company that do this, so I hope they listen to it also. But yeah, it's really simple. You just have to be willing to work 7 days a week because it's a really weird job you work when everyone else isn't working. But you also
most people see homes on weekends or weeknights.
Yeah. Like my Monday and Tuesdays during the day, I was like a soccer mom or something. Like I felt like I could just like go work out or I don't know. It was funny. It's just a way different schedule. And if people aren't used to managing their time, they won't do well either, I don't think.
Wow. So you basically work like food service hours, right? Like restaurant hours.
Yeah, and then you get up. I mean, it's fun.
Like to a next level. Yeah, to a much higher level.
Yeah, and then as I got busier, you just have to learn to like, build out a team and do all these other things. That was the hardest part, I think. But also, like in the beginning, I was
just 0 to 5 billion. We talked about 0 to 100. Now, how do you realize and learn on, how to build a really good team around you? What took you from 100 million to the next level?
That was the hardest part for me, just because I like doing all the transactions and things. And I think a lot of real estate agents are like that. So my team was really horribly run. Meg, a very sweet person that used to work with me back then, wanted to kill me at some points, but she kind of kept our entire team. She kind of managed the files and social media and just all that's the hardest part because there's so many documents and things. But honestly, I knew I didn't want to be an agent forever. And so starting this company has been a lot harder for me because things move a lot slower than I would like. It's a lot slower. You can show someone a house and it closes 2 weeks later. With a company, things go so slow. Even though it seems fast to other people, it seems slow to me.
That's true. So let's fast forward a couple of years. Yeah, it's been 8 years since you graduated from college. You are an SVP at a company. You're one of the best brokers in the country. What pushed you out of that amazing title, job, salary, comfort, and pulled you towards starting a company with two of your friends?
Yes, I was at Sotheby's, was doing well. I loved being there. And then Christy Berry and Jonathan Rosen are two friends of mine still, but we were all working together at Sotheby's. Jonathan and Christy had a big team at the time, and they were and still are some of the top agents in Dallas. They wanted to start something that was just more local and kind of focused on a few like high-end neighborhoods. And I mean, I just got lucky. I mean, they just asked me to come along. So I was kind of the third small owner of that firm, but us three left together. It was just Jonathan and I sat next to each other for like 5 years and just we're still great friends. But I was kind of the young person, I guess. Maybe they thought I would keep the company going if we were still, if they needed some help with some low income buyers. Um, no, but no, it was just a good fit and a fun time. And Dallas at the time really didn't have a boutique brokerage firm. Like Dallas is dominated by some really big brokerage firms. This was before Compass and all these other firms were there, but there were lots of like smaller local firms, and then you had the Remaxes of the world and things like that. But there wasn't like a super focused luxury firm there's 2 or 3 like super high end neighborhoods in Dallas, and we kind of just focused on those. And then we recruited a bunch of agents over to that firm, and then Compass was interested in expanding to Texas, and they bought that company, and then we launched Compass, and everyone from that firm, a lot of those people are still at Compass to this day. I'm kind of the weird one, I guess. I stayed for a year and then went to San Francisco.
For someone who has never been a party to a transaction, much less running a brokerage, how does buying or selling a brokerage work? And what did you learn from going from a cushy job to starting a company to basically selling it in less than a year? Like, how does it work, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, the Compass transaction was interesting. I mean, the intention with us starting that company, it wasn't like, you don't think about starting local brokerage firms to be acquired. Like, I don't think that that's a startup idea that's going to get, like a venture money. But really, we were worried, like Compass at the time was like the big new thing in the industry. They were going to come to Texas one way or the other. And it was almost like we would rather join them than compete with them kind of thing. And when they reached out to us I think it was a good time for everyone. Like, we hadn't put like 10 years into building that brokerage. We had spent some money to start it, and it was doing really well. But, at the time, Compass was spending tons of money doing all kinds of things. And so they made us an interesting offer that I don't think anyone regrets doing that transaction. I mean, Jonathan and Christy are still at Compass right now. And I would probably still be there if I didn't like to do a million things at once. Everyone's still, I think some people listening to this might think I still live in Dallas. People can't really keep up with what I'm doing. But the transaction itself was pretty straightforward, because there's not, running a brokerage firm, there's a lot of things happening, but they're not insanely complicated businesses. You have a couple revenue streams, payroll, really just staff. There's so many tools now that make it easy to run these companies. And then, the regulation is obviously there with the licenses and things, but it's not like running a fintech banking type company, which I got to see the inside of that. And, at Zero Down, that I don't think I would ever want to be in a pure lending company. But
let's talk about that. How was a transition from essentially real estate transactions to real estate financing? Zero Down kind of was like a hybrid between a fintech and a
for sure
financing platform. And you obviously had a massive transition from Texas to California.
Yes, it was all crazy.
Yeah. How was it like?
So I still, like, everyone was so confused. I guess I was confused too. After the Compass transaction, I was just wanting to do something else. Like, I just entrepreneurial minded, I wasn't planning on moving to California. I wasn't like, oh, I want to live in Silicon Valley, or like, I didn't have some like childhood dream to live in California or something. But really, a good friend of mine, James Bashira, who started a company called CrowdTilt that was a payments company like in 2012. He was in Y Combinator with Zenefits. So Zenefits, the payroll company, went through Y Combinator in 2012 or 20. My dates might be off, but James became really good friends with Lux and Parker Conrad, who started Zenefits. CrowdTilt, or Tilt, ended up being acquired by Airbnb. James was still living in Silicon Valley. And then Lux, who was one of the founders of Zero Down, he was starting. When I joined the company, we were still kind of unclear on what we were going to do. So James, I still credit James to this day. He convinced me to move to San Francisco and just team up. At the time, it was just Lux, Abhijit, and Hari, the three founders of Zero Down, and then this random guy from Memphis, Tennessee, via Texas that took an insane pay cut to move to California. But no, I mean, I loved it. It was exactly what made sense at the time, and it was completely different than being in real estate brokerage. But although we started looking like a real estate brokerage because we started buying homes while I was there. So I was kind of in charge of acquiring all the homes we were buying and then did a lot of other things. But yeah, it was a huge transition. I didn't know anyone. Like I had like 3 people that I knew in the city. Like it was a big change. But I will bet you a lot of money that I know the streets of San Francisco better than anyone listening to this because I didn't have a car and I love to run and walk. I would go on some crazy walks. I would sometimes look down and have like 40, 50,000 steps in a day.
Wow.
But yeah, I was just there. Like I go back every quarter or so because now with this company, our investors are based there. So it's fun for me to go back and yeah.
So if you're a real estate broker and you're in a new city, if you're not clocking 50,000 steps a day, what are you doing?
Just live in San Francisco and don't have a car. And that was pre-COVID when public transportation was like, I could walk faster than the bus could go. So that was my logic for walking. I would like see my friends or coworkers like on the bus and I'm like, just walk. It's great. Feels nice.
Amazing. And eventually fast forward to today, like Zero Down was recently sold to a company called Fly Homes. I mean, in hindsight, it still seems like a decision you would have replicated because Lux, Hari, and Abhijit are just such superstar Silicon Valley founders. Yeah. Taking a Silicon Valley mindset and attacking real estate. I remember when Zero Down launched, I had launched in the same year. And in 3 months, they were the fastest funded company. They had bought every billboard in the Bay Area at once, or maybe at least San Francisco. Everybody in the city knew, at least I heard Zero Down. Yeah.
Yeah, we bought. So that deal was funny because Rippling had this billboard contract like with all over San Francisco, and they wanted to offload some of their billboards. And so yeah, we literally bought every single billboard in San Francisco. Like that still makes, I still have so many pictures on my phone to this day of so many people sending me pictures of those billboards. But yeah, we were in Y Combinator. And then as soon as we came out of Y Combinator, like 2 weeks later, those guys raised a $30 million Series A and there were like 5 employees. But yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was fun. It was so fun. It was awesome. And Sam Altman, he was an investor in the company and yeah, it was crazy.
Wow. Yeah. So now it's 2020. It's 11 years since you graduated. You worked at a brokerage. You started a brokerage and sold it. You worked in a tech company in California. And now you finally take all of that and start your own shop, Pinnacle.
Yeah.
So when you were starting your own shop, you must have decided that, okay, these are all the things that have worked really well in the past. I'm going to replicate them, but these are the things I'm going to innovate on that should work better. So what guiding principles did you replicate and what guiding principles did you innovate as a founder?
Yeah. So being at Zero Down kind of gave me the idea for this company in a weird way. It was like, I think just being around SaaS like software as a service minded guys like Lux and Abhijit, like they were just always talking about recurring revenue and all these stories from Zenefits. And I mean, everyone at Zero Down, a lot of the early people were all Zenefits people, minus myself. And there was a guy from Fortress, the investment bank out of New York. But really, it was all like software engineer, minded type people. And so I think just being away from the traditional brokerage space and like being in San Francisco and being, hearing things from like Y Combinator, it's just kind of all these things. Like I think I had a chance to like not think about real estate. I kind of just had this idea, like how come you can't build a full service brokerage firm, but just have like a monthly pricing model or, some sort of like transaction fee. So that was kind of the idea. And really early on, there's always been low cost brokerage firms. And so it wasn't like that at all. It was like, it has to be something, it's like a full service firm, but if you're getting payments every month or getting paid in different ways, like people are probably open to that. So when I decided I wanted to do it, I moved back to Texas, not to Dallas. I came to Austin just because Austin was somewhere. Yeah, I'd always wanted to live there, and it's still close enough to Dallas where it feels like.
And 2020, Austin was the number one city in America, number one inbound migration rate, number one per capita job growth rate. 2020, Austin was the number one city in America.
Yeah, and still to this day, like some of the biggest like prop tech companies were started here, like Oho Labs, Realtor.com. Like there's a lot of big companies here that people don't realize. And so it's kind of like a prop tech Silicon Valley in a way. But yeah, so I came back here and then we launched. Originally, the company was called Architape, which is the worst name ever. And everyone used to think we were an architecture firm. And so when we were only at like 50 agents, we would get these calls because they'd see the sign in the yard and no one could understand it. And so they would call and be like, hi, like I'd be interested in learning more about like designing. It happened so many times that when we brought on the Pinnacle guys, I was like, we're just rebranding the whole company. So a lot of people, we're getting farther away from that where people forget that. But yeah, everyone like was very happy when the company was easier to understand. And so
this is a mistake a lot of founders make, which is they obsess too much about the name. Wait too long to launch. You did the opposite. You launched first, picked a name, and we all know, we can always change a legal entity name a DBA name or a website later on, and then you did the right thing. So obviously you knew what you were doing, but in just 12 months, you renamed it, you added a lot of agents. What did you do in those 12 months that you helped you grow so quickly?
I don't know. Like starting a company during COVID and in real estate and all these things, I don't think I would ever do again, which that probably won't be possible. But yeah, I mean, for the first like year and a half, it was so slow. Like when we started was right around when COVID was happening and no one really thought it was going to be a big deal. Remember when everyone was like, oh, this will last like a month? That was wrong. And so like convincing like people to join the company, like staff members and agents and everything was so slow. And so it probably took like fall of 2022 or like even that was like when things really started growing. Like I think we had just been around long enough. I mean, not long enough. It had been like a little over a year, but we had like a few hundred agents at that time. And something happened like right around like 400 agents where, in 2023, we doubled in size. So we went from like 400 at the end of 2022 to like end of last year, we had close to 800. And then we've added, close to 300 this year. But then last year, or kind of like early this year, was like the first time we started seeing like churn. I mean, I think the whole industry has saw this. It wasn't like our company, but there was a record number of real estate agents at 2022, like most number of licenses ever, because everyone was just getting their license and selling their friend a house. And so as like the market reset, a lot of those agents kind of like dropped off. Our churn's still super low, like sub 3% or something. But we've only been around 3 years. Like if we could keep that in a decade, that would be a feat. But I know that number will get bigger. But like industry average churn at a lot of companies, like 25%. It's crazy.
For someone starting a brokerage, obviously you had 11 years of track record before that. I'm sure you were able to convince some of the top producers to join you. But how did you convince your first big, like non-friends and family top producer to join you? And, what convinced them? And for a top producer listening to this today, why should they strongly consider Pinnacle?
Yeah, I mean, I think like once we hit a certain number of agents, like I think people trust that the company's like going to be around. That was the hardest thing in the beginning. It's like, are you going to be in business? Are you going to be in business? Like, because like a lot of companies try to start in this space and then they go out of business. And usually Not always, but usually those people usually those companies that don't make it are started by people that have not been in real estate. It seems like a very easy industry. It's very complicated, like with the brokerage stuff, and like agents are very weird people and just think differently than other people, and they want things done a certain way. So even things that might make sense to an outsider, agents don't, necessarily care about. So kind of just knowing what agents want. I really just built things that I wish that I had, and I was a top agent and like understand that. And obviously the price point's very attractive, but now, we have products where people can brand themselves, like with our white label product. The old school brokerage firms, their service has gotten so bad because they've had to cut their expenses so much that like they don't really provide as much as they did like a decade ago. And so like, I don't know, the industry's changing a lot. Like the fastest growing companies now are, Real, which is the fastest growing firm in America. And then, there's a lot of companies like my size or a little bit bigger that I think will become the biggest companies over the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow. So what you said you basically built a brokerage that you wanted. So what are the top features that you built for your producers that they don't get at most typical brokerages?
Yeah, I mean, I think with us, like a lot of these brokerages have things that appeal to different people. The way that we try to think about it is we want to have options and let people pick what they want. Like we don't brand ourselves as like a luxury firm or a low price firm or a commercial firm. Like we just have like very straightforward products that people can choose what they want. There's like a transaction fee plan, there's a monthly fee plan, and then there's a white label product. And so whether you're someone that sells, $50,000 homes in the middle of nowhere in Texas or like $50 million homes in San Francisco, like we literally have agents across the board. And I don't think there's not really any firm in the country right now that thinks about it that way. Like we don't really care about production like every firm does. I mean, we track that, but we're not like asking agents like how many transactions, what was your sales volume or these traditional metrics. It's more, are you a good agent who's like willing to learn and like not breaking the law? But like we give people a lot of freedom and pretty much let them do whatever is legal, in each respective state. And the pricing model is, on average, someone makes almost 50% more money just by switching to our firm. And we still have the old school. Like a big thing with me is like the service. Like we don't automate away like every support feature. Like we have people available from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time Zone. I mean, we're in every time zone, but that kind of covers America the best way we found possible. But yeah, I mean, like you can get in touch with people that work here, which is a very not normal thing in most of this industry. A lot of times people don't hear back from their brokers for like 3 days and like crazy stuff. So the pricing, the brand freedom, it's really easy to run your business, and then really good support.
So it's better pricing, better culture, because freedom is essentially translated to, the relationship, the culture, and better support.
Yeah. And then like on the tools and the tech side, like we take the stance of just like finding the best tools available. Like we are not a Compass where they spent like billions of dollars building stuff that already existed, which blows my mind. And the agents, any Compass agents watching this, that you don't really care about the tools because I didn't really care about them. And you can find stuff for like $30 a month that works fine. So like we are very like transparent about the tools we use. Like we use Slack, we use SkySlope. Like there's these amazing like multiple $billion companies that I promise you can build better tools than a real estate brokerage. And so we are always trying to find cool tools and like share them with our agents. And that's something I spend a lot of time on. But yeah, I mean, we pay people quickly. Like there's lots of like just simple things we do really well. It's nothing like not like we're launching rocket. That's what I always tell our team. Like I show people that video of SpaceX launching and landing 2 rockets at the same time. I'm like, that's really hard. Real estate, this is not hard. SpaceX, hard. Real estate, not hard.
Real estate is not rocket science. I agree. So if you could, it's like, what is a tool that you still wish you had that hasn't been built yet, or hasn't been customized yet to meet your agent needs?
No, I know that's hard. It's like, I think in real estate, I don't know if there's like a tool I wish existed, but I more wish like the bureaucracy around like MLS, like there's a lot of just like outdated rules and like things in the industry that I don't wish it would change. Like, I'm not like, oh, we're not trying to like disrupt the like laws. Like some companies are trying to like do things like that. We're like, we just adapt to what's happening. But I do think there's a lot of, during COVID, the biggest thing that I think changed real estate, a lot of people don't realize, is a lot of companies started allowing remote closings where you can, DocuSign closing documents. That was like monumental change. And a lot of people don't. There's a lot of things that happened during COVID that made the industry a lot better. And like, because it's crazy to me that like it takes so long to close house transactions, but that's not usually like a technology problem. That's like a regulation issue. And so like, I think like appraisals, inspections, there's a lot of cool companies doing lots of cool things around inspections. Like my friend Josh runs this company called Inspectify and there's like some appraisal tech companies that are coming out. But like that's where I think the transactions can improve a lot. The tools for agents, I think people should build less of them. I feel like I get an email a day from a new startup with something that's being built that I don't really think needs to be built.
It's not really a tools problem. It's more of a, how do you make compliance as easy as possible?
Yeah. It's more just like making it easier for the consumer, because it's like, it's so complicated to buy and sell a house. That's why I believe agents will be around a lot longer than people think. I don't think they'll make as much money as they have the last 30 years, but I do think real estate agents will be around for like way longer than people think. You're not going to go from real estate agents to zero real estate agents overnight. Everyone's like thinking like, oh, if commissions, if you have to disclose the commissions, agents will go away. It's like, you don't go from 2 million agents to zero. That's going to take like 20 years to me. And like the fees should come down probably, but that's not like, we don't take a stance on that. We let people do whatever they want. So you can charge someone, 500 or 5 million at our company. We just, whatever is legal.
So let me add some context for the listeners. So the National Association of Realtors recently settled a lawsuit against the Department of Justice that in effect attacks the 3+3 or the 2.5+2.5 fee structure that's been for a while through a complex legal landscape. Now, what Sam's alluding to is as home buyers and home sellers, you have more, just the news itself creates more awareness in talking to your industry agent about what kind of fees are appropriate for you. So Sam, what you're saying is that a Pinnacle agent basically personalizes fees for their clients based on the client's requirements rather than sticking to a normal fee structure. And that comes back to the point you said earlier, which is we want to adapt, not disrupt.
Right. Like even before that rule, like that lawsuit came into effect, we were, we didn't have to worry about anything because an agent we don't have any rules around you must charge. A lot of what's happening with this is companies kind of had informal or formal rules around, how commissions worked or things like that. It's super complicated, and I still don't think I don't even know how it's all going to play out. But like at our company, we always tell our agents, like, get buyer's rep agreements signed. Like, we've always done the things that you're supposed to do. But like us as a business, we don't say like, hey, Nick, like, if you want to sell a house for less than 6%, like your manager has to sign off on it. Like you could sell the house for $500 because we make our money on the monthly fee. And then if you're on the transaction fee plan, it's just a flat transaction fee. The reason why that lawsuit's such a big deal for a lot of the traditional firms is because they're getting paid a percentage of the commission. And so their revenue is like majorly impacted. I think our company is worth a lot more, in this new world. We'll see if that's right. But I think more companies will start looking like ours than less.
Wow. Seems like you're already building the next generation of brokerage. So you're even better than Ryan Serhant. For
Yeah, I think there's still traditional commissions, but I bet their fees are a lot. In New York, one fee's probably like an entire city in some of these Texas towns.
Yeah, $10 million commission.
I mean, some of those penthouses in New York, they really are multiple million commission.
Really, talk to listeners about some other challenges that you had to solve while building and growing Pinnacle. Is there anything else that you feel like mentioning?
I mean, starting any company's insanely hard, so don't do it unless you really like it. And don't raise venture capital money unless you absolutely have to.
Completely.
But, I mean, we have venture investors. I love our investors. I think there's like a false hope in America with like the VC world, and people think, oh, like if you raise money, that's like some sign of success. And it drives me crazy because most companies are not venture ideas and they don't need to do that. Like that's not like a check mark of success to raise VC money, which I think gets like misconstrued a lot.
Yeah, that gives us a perfect segue into moving on to, coaching listeners and summarizing your perspective. So apart from, founders not thinking about venture money in the right way, what is the other like number one mistake you see others making in your industry or your market?
Yeah, like I think too many people like launch companies without testing the ideas. Like some people will go full-fledged into like building a product and a whole company and they haven't even figured out if they can sell it. I mean, that's a big thing. Like you should go on Y Combinator's website and just read all the stuff they have. Because so much of the stuff that they talk about, I think could be applied to like any industry, whether you're starting like a plumbing company or a tech company. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think starting a company is for everyone. And it seems like it's become this thing that's like, oh, I'll just start a company. And friends of mine all the time ask me about starting companies and I tell them they shouldn't do it. And if someone hears that 10 times and still does it, then they probably should start it. So like, if they keep asking and I keep saying no and then they still start it, then that probably worked because I still have no idea what I'm doing. I won't be running Pinnacle forever. I'm the kind of person that, I don't think about the next thing till I get done with the current thing. Like I think a lot of people do that, but I would love to build other businesses and just keep learning. And I would do things a lot differently the next time. I've learned it with every company and everything I've done. So,
wow. On that note, like for your loved ones, what is the number one skill you would teach them if they agreed to, your mentoring?
Man, hopefully they don't watch this. I would say that people should just read as much as possible and not like news and social media, but like actual like books. And not any specific book. I think just read whatever you like reading and it'll make people read more. Like I read so many books that people like think I'm crazy, but I've always liked reading. And I think you can learn so much from guys like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And I try to read as much as I can about like people that have built big companies. So that's what I like to read about. I've weirdly always liked that since like 6th grade. But yeah, just because at one point, like Jeff Bezos was not the guy he is today. Like at one point he like had this idea to sell books on the internet because they were easy to like ship in boxes. Like, like there's crazy reasons why these big companies start. So I just think it helps to read about stuff that you like.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
How do you teach selling?
Selling, I think with selling, I would always tell, so I don't do as much of that today, but when I did have like a team and things, like I just always told people to just focus in on like getting their first deal, like just get your first sale and don't worry about anything else. I feel like a lot of people try to like build processes and all these things before they even like sell something. And like, you should really just test it out and see if like you can sell it and then worry about all the other stuff. But I think just talking to people or finding clients that are like similar to you, whether they play lacrosse or they go to yoga class or like Robbie Briggs at Briggs Freeman was always like, you find your best clients like in places where you like to be. So like if you go to church, like those are probably, like there's people, every person has a different thing. But like at that time, like I used to like run marathons and like do all these crazy workouts and like those people become your first clients. Like you just have to like remind people what you're doing without being annoying.
Don't be annoying, but remind people what you're doing.
Yeah, like you have to remind people because if not, like a lot of people are afraid to do that. It's like there's like nice ways to remind people. You don't have to like try to close them on the first phone call.
Yeah. And get your first sale. Agree.
Yeah, yeah.
What spirit animal or bird best describes you or Pinnacle?
Probably like a hedgehog. No, I don't know. Like something that's like moving way too fast and going off the. I've had to like really like become way more patient with running this company in a good way, I guess. But companies move way slower than selling actual houses.
Companies are like Titanic. It takes time to move, but like selling houses
Yeah,
are small boats. You can move
yeah.
anything. Yeah.
But with our company, I think like most of our employees are all real estate background, which is unique. Like a lot of these new age companies, it's lots of like tech or non-real estate. And I always say that I think it's really hard to do what we're doing. Like, I don't think our company would survive, especially with how bad the market's been. And, you know, if we were a company that was reliant on raising more venture money, we'd go out of business. Like we're a profitable company. We're a lot of things we've had to like really change over the last year, but you know, I think we're in a great spot now for a while and we'll just see what happens.
That's amazing. All right. So to close things out, who should reach out to you and how should they reach out to you or your team?
I'm happy. Anyone can reach out to me, email, or my email is sam@pinnaclera.com. And then that's probably the best way. I really stopped checking social media like beginning of last year and haven't gone back. I still check Twitter, but like I deleted all the apps off my phone. It was like a weird experiment that's still ongoing. But yeah, anyone can email me. I feel like usually when you say that, no one does email, but you know, maybe they will.
Maybe they might.
I email random people all the time. So like I appreciate it when people email me and I will respond. So
Thank you, Sam. So that was Sam Sawyer, a hedgehog who went from 0 to 5 billion in less than 20 years and like probably going to be bigger than Ryan Serhant for West and who knows America. If you want to reach out to me or him, you should email him. There's no other way, and we'll add a link to the email in the description. If you want to talk about real estate anytime, or if you know someone who is a master of real estate, shoot me a note on nick@home.llc. Thank you.